Hi. So one of the things that I've learned over the years of training many different lead sources, I've worked on, expireds, for sale by owners, past clients, Sphere, but also as a Ferry, I've worked on, how to deal with brokers, how do I deal with top agents, brand new agents, seasoned agents in every single different marketplace. And so, in my 17 years of experience of dealing with so many different types of lead sources and categories, I developed a framework that really allows me to take on any lead source. So I wanted to share with you kind of what that is to be able to master a lead source. So a lot of you know that I spent many years in what was called the prospecting school. And so I'd have agents come in and they would spend 2 days with me. They'd have a list of phone numbers of leads. We'd get on the phone and we would call those leads and try and set appointments. And what happened was at first I just started with scripts. Hey, let's get you the right scripts. Let's get you to say the right things so that we can get that appointment. And what was interesting was I can give one person the same exact script, they'd get the appointment, give another person the same exact script, and they wouldn't get the appointment. And so all of a sudden I started to look at, okay, what are some of the unique nuances that would have this guy get the appointment with the script and this gal not get it? And I had to start to really figure out what the hacks were. And so my job was to figure out what is the fastest way for me to get you an appointment, right, when I'm looking at the particular lead source. So that's what I was tasked with for 4 years. And really, I got a chance to spend time with some of the absolute best prospectors, appointment setters on the planet. And so I got to observe what was their attitude, what was the way that they spoke to people, their skill sets, communication skill sets, what tools were they using, software were they using, kind of how were they organizing their schedules, how were they really, operationalizing that lead source so they can maximize the results, increase efficiencies, and scale that sucker up. So after many, hours and hours and hours of observation, I realized, look, I can help an agent with what I refer to as the framework. And the framework, and this is what we're going to work on together, is we want to look at everything. So I want to look at first is really what's going on with your mindset about that lead source. Again, so when I worked with an agent, I knew exactly what to say to be able to produce an amazing appointment, and I can articulate it perfectly. And the agent would have negative thoughts, limitations in their head, and whatever they said, it just didn't work. And so I realized, okay, how do I eliminate all those negative thoughts and how do I get people to net neutral? And then from net neutral, how do I empower them? And I started really figuring out, look, what was the value of the service that you offered specifically to that lead source? And the moment I got you thinking about how you can contribute to them and the unique services that you would like to offer them, and I got you into that conversation out of the negativity, boom, results seemed to fly off the charts regardless of the script. And I was like, wow, that was cool. Okay, shift the mindset, boom, results occurred. Okay, so I realized it's about understanding your mindset regarding that lead source. Then the next thing that I started to understand was, wow, the prospector, the real estate agent who was calling the lead didn't have enough empathy for where the lead was at in their journey. And so I started to realize understanding the customer's journey, understanding what their experience has been, giving them some compassion, giving them some approval and acknowledgement for what they have experienced or are currently experiencing was a fast pass to rapport and was a fast pass to great communication. And so what was interesting is the more I dug into the customer's journey and then started really looking at what are some of the best questions to create conversations, how do I get the agent to be listening and being able to go, oh, that's where they're at, acknowledge it, build some rapport there, and then once people know that you care, then they'll listen to what you have to offer, which is the classic line. So the customer journey. Now, as we're dealing with the online buyer lead, this is essential that we really figure out the customer's journey, and I've been building some framework around that, so I know that I'm going to be able to empower you there. Because now when we look at where they're at in the journey, it's also how can we help them? What education, what resources, what tools can we help them with at that phase and add value to them there? And again, now building relationship and building a value add service. So it's no longer prospecting to get an appointment, prospecting so I can get paid. It's now prospecting to find out where people are at and serve them, serve first, sell second, serve them, and then now set appointments and provide resource and follow up with them and make commitments with the consumer on how we can help them move forward. You see where I'm going with this? Get the head on straight, figure out how to help people where they're at specifically and what you can offer them, and naturally more appointments just occurred over and over and over again. Okay, so then the next step, of course, was to look at, okay, what are the skills that actually are going to make a difference here? Okay, so skills includes scripting, but skills also include different communication styles. Skills also include being more versatile with the situation. For example, an expired listing are usually a little standoffish because they're like, why are you calling me, right? And so you have to have some skill there to build rapport, get them engaged, and pull them into the conversation. But when you call a for sale by owner, well, they advertised their phone number to the world and said, please call me about buying my house. So there's not a lot of, they want you to come over and sell the home. Now, they don't want you to come over and list the home, but they want you to come over and bring a buyer and sell the home. And so you can see there's a little skill nuance there. One, we're actually trying to not get the appointment because we don't want to go on an appointment with the FSBO who's annoying. The other, we want to try and get rapport in that environment at any cost, because if we can have a deep conversation with an expired, most likely we can get a conversion. So there's some skill nuances there, right? So now if we're talking about online leads, if Zillow passed us over a call, then they are expecting a certain amount of service. Well, there's some skill there. Hey, they want to go see the property. They want to ask a question about the property. Well, if you are, at a restaurant and you're 2 mimosas in, part of your skill is to be able to deal with that. You're not going to be able to give them exactly what they want in that connection, but the skill of converting an appointment for later and an opportunity to, deepen this relationship at a later date. That's the critical skill with that Zillow handoff. Now, when we're dealing with a Google lead, which is more of someone who is, homes for sale in Solana Beach, and then they went to my website asked them to register. They probably thought, well, okay, fine. And they registered, and they were just wanting to look at properties online passively. And then whammo, here's Patrick Ferry. Hey, how's it going? I'm a real estate agent, and I see that you're on my website. Creepy, first of all, right? So there's going to be a certain amount of skill and finesse around this conversation of talking to someone who is just searching passively. And so we have to understand some of these different nuances of the skill and the customer's journey. See, the Zillow person that was handed off to you, who requested information on a specific property, they're at a different phase of the journey than someone who was last night searching homes for sale in your city name and wanted to just passively do some researching on listings. Can you see the difference? Both of those are 2 completely different conversations, require a whole different set of skill sets. So now let's talk about the skills of the scripting. We've all learned that, look, okay, there's a few skills in the online buyer lead program that there's Location, the LP mama, location, right? Price point, motivation, mortgage, agent, and setting appointments. These are the main conversations that we need to have. And then there's a few skill sets that I'm going to teach you that I find are very attractive versus repelling. Okay, so what is attractive to a buyer? What is repelling to a buyer? What's attractive to a buyer is hyper-local expertise, hyper-local knowledge that could, provide to them information or research that they don't have access to right now, but you have as a hyper-local expert. They're attracted to that. So if you can integrate some of that into the conversation of location and price point, you're going to have them leaning in with you versus pushing away. Okay. The other thing that's attractive is resourcefulness. As a realtor, if we can be very resourceful, then the consumer will say, hey, probably better to have her on my team when we're out there in the marketplace for me to try and secure this next home. Okay, if they're resourceful, then of course the last one is the competitive advantage. So a lot of the down the customer journey buyers who are looking for that right house, who are transactional, well, when I offer them the opportunity for me to do some research to find them off-market properties and to see if I can present to them some opportunities that don't exist to the general public right now, that's a unique advantage that they would be attracted to. So we got to look at the fundamental script: location, price point, mortgage, motivation, and agent and appointment. We got to look at each one of those conversations and look at the best questions to be asking, the best skills to open that conversation up and to demonstrate some of these great things so that we earn the opportunity to make a great offer that is relatable to where they're at in the journey. An offer meaning our buyer consultation. We want to earn the right to be able to be at that point where we could say, hey, based upon this wonderful conversation that we've had, which I've learned so much great thing about where you're at, what's important to you, and kind of where you're at in the journey, what I would like to offer you is this buyer consultation that's related to where they're at on the journey. And it's a service and it's a value add that they would appreciate. Bam. Okay. So part of mastering a lead source is mastering the offer, mastering the appointment. And how do we set that appointment? Okay. And then the next phase, of course, is mastering the consultations, because I realize that there's 4 consultations that we should have if we're going to really level up the mastery in which we convert buyers, strangers who we've never met before, and turn them into accepted offers and raving fans who refer us nonstop from that point forward. It's going to be a little bit more than bedrooms, baths, square feet. You want to go see it, want to go see it, you want to make an offer, want to go see it, want to make an offer. I think we got to level up what we're doing here. So I'm excited to share with you about that. So you can see we started with the mindset. We started with understanding us, understanding the consumer, and then boom, jumping into the skill sets, what's attractive, what's repelling, what are the fundamentals of a great conversation so that we can, earn the right to make a great offer, a service offer, a buyer consultation offer that they will most likely say yes to. And then from there, we got to master the consultation. And so then how can we go deep and get that magic ingredient that we're all looking for, which is trust. Okay, the goal is to go so deep with the consumer that they've revealed all of their preferences to us. And then we created a great action plan for them. And we demonstrated that we understand what they're trying to accomplish deeply. We have the skills and ability and the tools and the resources to help them achieve that goal. And then we've kind of built enough rapport to where trust becomes available. And when we have trust, do we have loyalty? You better believe it. And that's the game. And I know that's what we're all trying to accomplish. Okay? And if we have trust, will they, do we feel free to say, this is an offer, I think, this is a property that I think is really excellent, and I recommend that you guys make an offer based on everything that I know. And based on everything that I know and all of the research, I would recommend that you guys make an offer with these price points and terms and conditions. And if we have trust and we have authority and we've built this great relationship with them, they're going to follow our advice. Okay? And that's the game. That's mastery. Now, once we've completed the mindset and the skills, now we've got to look at some of the practical stuff. Okay, we've got to look at the tools, the CRM, your follow-up campaigns. How do we manage all of this stuff? And how do we get you to level up your, let's say, your techiness with the systems and the platforms and the tools and the resources for this lead source? Very important. Okay, then we need to look at the next thing, which is understanding the numbers of this lead source. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when I was dealing with people with expireds, and when someone would get on the phone and they'd start calling expireds for 20 minutes, I would hear a big sigh in the prospecting school. Oh, this just doesn't work. And I'd say, okay, cool. Well, let me ask you, how many did you call? Well, I called a lot of people. And I said, well, how many numbers did you call? Well, I called probably like 20 numbers. Oh, okay. How many people did you talk to? Well, no one. Well, did you talk to anyone? Well, I talked to 3 people. Okay, and what happened? Well, one of them was a wrong number, and 2 of them basically just, one hung up on me, and one of them, said that I should call them back later, and because they're really busy right now. So I said, okay, so you spent 20 minutes, you called 20 phone numbers, you talked to 3 people, 1 was a wrong number, 1 hung up on you, and 1 was the right person. And then I'd say, by the way, that's perfect, you're right on track. Now, because I know the numbers. When you're calling expireds, you can call for an hour and maybe talk to about 4 to 5 of the right people. And you will probably call anywhere between 60 to 80 phone numbers. And really, you'll talk to a variety of randoms, but 4 to 5 of the right people within 1 hour. Because I understand the numbers. You see, we need to have a good understanding of the numbers. Well, how many calls do I need to make to get a conversation? How many conversations do I need to have before I get a lead? How many leads do I need to get before I'm showing property and setting appointments? How many, appointments or conversations to a buyer consultation? How many buyer consultations do I need to go on before I am, making an offer? And how many offers do I need to make before I'm getting an acceptance? And how much money does it cost me to buy all of these leads? So how many leads do I need to have to be able to achieve my financial goals? And how much money did I spend to be able to get my first sale? And on average, at the end of the year, I spent this much money on this many leads, and I talked to this many people, and I set this many buyer consultations, and I read this many offers, and I made this much money. Hey, the numbers. Probably a good idea that we get some clarity around all of that so that you can then start to be operating from them and you have a better expectation, and we have less highs and lows emotionally because we're not hallucinating about these things. I found that to be so important in the process of mastering a lead source and really scaling it up. Because the reason why we are all, me especially, interested in the online buyer lead is because of the scalability. See, right now, Google is a free open landscape for us to buy cheap leads who have an intent of homes for sale in your market. And if we can build and construct a nice dynamic program to convert at a high percentage rate, we can buy a lot and we can make a lot of money. Okay, and there's not a lot of competition right now. So the reason why I'm so interested in this is because I understand the numbers, and I'm very excited about what type of numbers you and I can create in this process if we take this framework and overlay it, right, on this game. Okay, last thing, of course, is in mastering a lead source is understanding what's the ideal schedule. Okay, well, how, we all are busy. We've got kids, we've got spouses, we've got hobbies, we've got life, we've got transactions, we've got appointments. So what's the ideal schedule to make sure that we are giving this project enough time in your life so that we can clearly say, yeah, you know what, we put in 8 hours a week into this project, and of those 8 hours we were able to produce this much income. But if you're like, oh, well, just if we kind of get to it when you get to it, that's not going to work, right? For us to have mastery over a lead source that has the potential of creating hundreds of thousands of dollars for us financially, don't you think it deserves a couple solid focused hours per day? Is creating mastery over a lead source going to just like happen in the first 90 days? No. Like, the more time you have focused, dedicated attention to really figuring out how to create mastery in this program, this could take you 12 months to 18 months. Now, it's going to be how much time you dedicate to your ideal week that's going to determine how much or how little profit you get in the first year. So the reality that you and I got to deal with is, if you don't really create an ideal schedule and really fulfill on enough hours in the week on this project, then you need to be okay with, look, Patrick, I didn't make as much profit in the first 12 months because I didn't give it enough time. Okay? Because look, I know you have enough talent, your smarts, wits, between you and I, we can figure out everything that we need to figure out, but it's just going to take hours of focused time for you to be able to really get the experience enough to where mastery really is available. And by the way, who cares? If this takes us 12 months to 18 months, who cares? Because after we have mastery over this sucker, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in income every year forever, if not $1 million. Okay. So mastering the ideal schedule, and then the last thing, of course, is tying a financial goal to this lead source. Okay, so we really want to actually just say, in the next 12 months, you're going to commit to blank dollars a month in platform cost and training cost and this amount of time, and we're going to work on this mindset, these skill sets, role playing. I got to build these presentations. I got to figure all this stuff out. If I'm going to commit to all of that, well, I better make some money. Well, what is that? And let's put a number on this lead source, and let's really kind of figure out what's a conservative number, right? If you bought, 50 leads a month, right, at $20 a lead, that's $1,000. Well, and we had, 50 leads times, let's just say 10 months out of the year. Well, we know what that number is. It's 500 leads. If you generated 500 leads and we completely screwed this thing up, could you at least get a 1% conversion rate? 5 transactions. So if you think through 5 transactions, what's your average commission check? Right now with the buyers, is the good news. It's mostly standard 2.5. So, but we have a variation with some of these Google leads, so it may not be kind of like your exact geographic farm averages. So let's do a conservative average. Let's take a look at 5 transactions. If we did 50 leads, right? How much money would you make? Okay. Now, is that enough for you to be motivated, number one, to put up with me, put up with all these leads, to put up with building this entire new lead source and getting all the way to mastery within the next 12 months to 18 months? If it's not enough, then I'm not sure. Then we need to look at, is this the right decision for you? If it is enough, and you can see that, in the short term, sure, hey, this is just kind of a net neutral, But in the long term, this is a huge financial win for us. Great, then this is the right decision and this is the right lead source. So you can see the way that I try and walk all the way through this whole process. Because what happens is in this business, we have too many agents who are just trying out a lead source. And I gotta admit, if you try any lead source in any industry, any business, it's not gonna work. It only when you commit to mastery and you look at the fundamental frameworks to be able to achieve great success, those are the salespeople in any industry who have been the ones that have created exceptional results. So, at the worst case scenario, join me for this program so that you can learn the framework of how to map out any lead source. And if you decide that you hate online lead sources, you can take this and go do it with anything else. We're always going to have buyers that we're going to be dealing with, and it's always going to be a segment of your marketplace. So you might as well get to work on mastering the buyer regardless. So look forward to having you in the training program, and I look forward to developing this with you. This is a game of feedback and the game of watching and testing and tinkering with the market until you and I have the absolute 100% best hacks to where we can dramatically improve your efficiencies with buyers. Thanks so much. Look forward to having you in the program. Give me a call, text me, whatever it is. Reach out to me and let's get you going on the program. Have a great day.